This is a Neanderthal. Everyone thinks they lost. That our ancestors were smarter, better organized, better hunters, and drove them into extinction 40,000 years ago. That is the story you learned in school. And it is almost entirely wrong. In the next 7 minutes, I will show you how the Neanderthals actually disappeared, and why, in a way that matters, they are still here. For 400,000 years, Neanderthals lived across Europe and Western Asia. That is twice as long as our species has existed. They hunted mammoth, reindeer, and cave bear. With wooden spears tipped in stone, they controlled fire, not just to keep warm, to cook food, harden wood, clear paths through forests. They wore clothing sewn together with bone needles, not roughly draped hides, tailored garments, layered for insulation in Ice Age winters. And they buried their dead. One grave in France was lined with flowers deliberately placed. In Vindija Cave in northern Iraq, they found a skeleton archaeologists called Shanidar I. He was a man who had lost his arm at the shoulder, probably in a hunting accident. He had been blinded in the left eye by a crushing blow to the face. His right leg was fractured, healed badly, and left him limping for the rest of his life. He was between 40 and 50 when he finally died. His group had carried him through cold winters and through hunts he could not join. Somebody had fed him, somebody had brought him firewood. Somebody had cared for him for decades. This was not a primitive species. And they were creative. At La Pasiega, a cave in northern Spain, someone painted a red ladder shape on the wall. When scientists dated the pigment, they got a shock. It was 65,000 years old, 20,000 years before our species even set foot in Europe. The painters were not us. They were Neanderthals. In a cave in Croatia, archaeologists found 8 eagle talons, drilled with holes, polished at the edges and strung together as jewelry. They were 130,000 years old, made and worn by Neanderthals. In Germany, they found lumps of a black substance. When chemists analyzed it, they realized it was birch tar. But it had not been scraped from a tree, it was manufactured. The Neanderthals had figured out that if you heat birch bark in a sealed pit at 200 degrees Celsius, in an oxygen-free environment, it produces a black tar. That black tar bond's stone points to wooden spears. Complex, multi-step, temperature-controlled chemistry. Tens of thousands of years before Homo sapiens tried it. For nearly 500,000 years, they thrived. Then, around 45,000 years ago, someone new walked into their world. Homo sapiens, that is us. Coming out of Africa, through the Middle East, and into Europe. The story you have been told is that we had the edge. Better tool-making, better projectile weapons, bigger social networks. We outcompeted them. The last known Neanderthal skeletons date to around 40,000 years ago in Gibraltar and southern Spain. After that, silence. Textbook complete. Clean, tidy war of extinction, won by the smarter species. It is a satisfying story. It is also full of holes. Because Neanderthals and Homo sapiens did not just meet and separate. In Europe, they overlapped for at least 5,000 years. In some regions, maybe 15,000. They shared tool techniques. Oranyesian blade tools started appearing in Neanderthal sites right before those sites went quiet. Something was passing between the two species. It was not just competition. And their skulls started to change. The very latest Neanderthal remains have smaller brow ridges, larger foreheads, more gracile features. Something else was going on. Something the textbook version missed entirely. In 2010, a Swedish geneticist named Svante Pääbo did something people had told him was impossible. He and his team took a 40,000-year-old Neanderthal bone from Vindija Cave in Croatia. They extracted the DNA a milligram at a time, cleaned out modern contamination, and pieced it back together. Then they sequenced the entire Neanderthal genome. It took years. It should have been impossible. Ancient DNA that old should have been too degraded to read. It was not. Pääbo's team then compared the Neanderthal genome to the genomes of living human beings. And they found something no one was ready for. Every single human alive today, outside of sub-Saharan Africa, carries between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA. If you have European, Asian, or indigenous American ancestry, you have Neanderthal ancestors. And I do not mean symbolic ancestors. Direct genetic ancestors. Their DNA is inside you right now. The Neanderthals did not lose a war. They did not get outcompeted. Instead, for tens of thousands of years, they had children with Homo sapiens. Generation after generation, not just once, not just in one place. Across Europe, the Middle East, and Central Asia. Their line was absorbed into ours. By the time the last skeleton we can identify as a distinct Neanderthal was buried, their genes were already living inside a growing sapiens population. They were not defeated, they were rewritten into us. And they are still with us today. Their genes influence your immune system, your skin thickness, how your body fights off certain viruses. There is a Neanderthal variant that made European populations resistant to a strain of coronavirus. Another shapes how much daylight you need to feel awake. If you have ever wondered why you are a morning person, or run cold, or shake off flu unusually well, some of that is them. So did the Neanderthals disappear? Yes and no. As a distinct species, they were gone by around 40,000 years ago. But the DNA that made them Neanderthal is still walking around today. Look in a mirror. Some part of them became you. Next Tuesday, another human species we have never seen, but whose DNA is also inside your neighbor. The Denisovans,